and then there was one. When originally the economic freedom fighters were formed by three very significant people, the Musketeers, Julius Malema, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, and Floyd Shivambu, as of this past weekend, only Julius Malema remains, probably by his own design and of his own hand, because in an explosive bombshell TV interview on Sunday night, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi announced that he had left the economic freedom fighters. It's an extraordinary moment, one that has felt like it's been coming for a very, very long time, even as the way that Ndlozi has been pushed out of the party has been extremely unusual. And now it leaves really big questions. What does this mean? Freedom fighters? How will Ndlozi leaving and no longer being around affect their popularity, their likelihood to attract new voters, and how will it change the dynamics within the EFF itself? And what does this mean for Ndlozi? Where is he going to go next? Because he said he's leaving party politics for a while at least and going to try and become some kind of big, strong civil activist voice. This is the issue with Mbuyiseni Ndlozi leaving the EFF. On the issue with Dan Corder, South Africa is a movie. Welcome to the watch party. We've been following the Mbuyiseni Ndlozi story for a long time, and many other stories on our weekday morning podcast, Dan Corder in the Morning, where we cover all the biggest, most important news worth knowing as South Africa unfolds every single Monday to Friday, about 20 minutes every single morning. And we have a WhatsApp line, 0607 613 436, where listeners, recorders can get involved, contribute, and comment as we have a communal discussion about what is going on in this confusing, beloved country of ours. So if you want to join our daily discussions during the week, just search Dan Corder in the Morning on any of your audio streamers. On Sunday night, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi said he was done with the EFF and he was done with party politics. He explicitly thanked the EFF and wished them good luck. People were incredibly impressed by how classy and humble and controlled and soft and gentle he was, but he said some pretty extraordinary things. He said that actually he had been suspended by the EFF's top command late last year. You may remember that there were rumors about that, but the EFF top command denied that they had suspended him. They came out in public often and said, no, we have not suspended him. And Ndlozi, for his part, did not comment at all on those rumors whatsoever. In fact, he consistently reiterated his loyalty for and support for the revolution, as he called it, the project of the EFF, which he said was the only political home for him. But on Sunday night, he said, no, he actually had been suspended. And he gave two reasons why. The first one is that he said that allegedly, according to him, the EFF High Command had received an information docket that indicated that Mbuyiseni Ndlozi was part of a grand conspiracy for the MK party, or by the MK party, to destroy the EFF. Now, there have been rumors and allegations going around for such a long time now that the MK party is specifically trying to cannibalize the EFF. We know about the meetings between Jacob Zuma and Julius Malema that happened even before the election about whether or not they were going to join. These suggestions that Zuma just wanted the EFF to fold into MK. And since the election, many of the top most prominent leaders in the EFF have jumped sides, most significantly Floyd Shivambu, going from the EFF, the Red Berets, to the MK party. And so many people for a while were saying, surely Mbuyiseni's next. Surely he's the next one who's going to go. In fact, Julius Malema himself heavily suggested that that was going to happen in a tweet last year where he said that two more prominent members of the EFF were going to leave. And while he didn't give specific names, he did say that the one has a beautiful singing voice, and we know that the People's Bay, despite being incredibly charismatic, intelligent, powerful, talented politician, has also got a banging set of pipes. Julius Malema himself in public was wink-nudging, suggesting that there was nonsense going on involving Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. You might remember that Julius Malema actually came forward and attacked Ndlozi and his wife at a rally once after Shivambu moved from the EFF to MK, because Ndlozi's wife had liked a post by Shivambu saying that moving to MK was the best thing that he'd ever done. So this was swirling. I'm going to start with the second allegation first. So, on whether or not Ndlozi should have gone and told the EFF High Command that Shivambu was about to leave, Ndlozi said, I'm not an informant, I'm not a gossip. It was not my story to tell. It was Shivambu's story to tell. It was not my place to tell that story or to rat on him. That is absolutely his decision and his choice. And so it was absolutely on him to go and tell the leadership that he was going to do that. I don't feel like I did anything wrong. There are mixed opinions about that online, particularly amongst EFF voters and members, about whether or not he should have told on Shivambu, basically. But that's the smaller allegation, or the less consequential one for the EFF from this suspension. The most significant one is the leak, the suggestion that Ndlozi was part of some kind of conspiracy to destroy the EFF. Because what happened there, according to Ndlozi, is he denied that there was any conspiracy. He said that the information in this kind of leak docket file was false. And according to Ndlozi, the EFF High Command said, okay, we need more time to investigate this information docket to find out whether it's credible and valid. And Ndlozi said, fine. And so according to Ndlozi, the EFF High Command said, you will remain suspended until we complete our investigation. Ndlozi said, fine, how long do you need? And according to Ndlozi, the EFF High Command said, no, we need quite a bit of time. In fact, we need more time than is left between that meeting and the EFF elective conference that happened late last year in December. So they said, we'll only be able to resolve and deal with this matter and unsuspend you and find you guilty or innocent after the elective conference, which according to Ndlozi is why he wasn't there and didn't run for any positions of power, despite being one of the most popular people in the EFF with one of the biggest constituencies, support bases behind him, someone that most people believe Malema was really worried about, because running up to the elective conference last year, Malema was clearly worried that the battering that the EFF took at the national election had undermined his authority and caused people within the fighters to think maybe Malema shouldn't be our grand leader anymore. And so maybe, just maybe, it's worth considering that this suspension and the waiting period to investigate this information docket on Ndlozi was timed by design to stop Ndlozi from going to the conference and competing and using his power. In fact, it sounds like it stripped him of his power, because when the conference happened, the EFF had all this new leadership, and suddenly Ndlozi was just an MP, and other than that, a rank and file member of the EFF. So that's what Ndlozi said happened. Now, the EFF at the time of this recording has not said anything. So the other big thing that Ndlozi said in this interview was that he was leaving party politics. He was going to, be a loud voice in society, a civil activist. And that was really surprising for a lot of people. We have covered on the podcast and on our other shows about how Ndlozi has done a real about turn in the last few weeks to suddenly praising President Ramaphosa a whole lot. Remember, a massive part of Ndlozi's success as a member of parliament was absolutely slamming Ramaphosa and Ramaphosa's ANC as being business friendly, DA friendly, white monopoly capital friendly. And a few years ago, he said that Ramaphosa was probably the worst president South Africa had ever had. And then just in the last handful of days to weeks, he came out with this post saying that he had been completely wrong about Ramaphosa, that the left needed to reconsider what they thought of Ramaphosa's presidency, that he might be one of the best presidents South Africa's ever had, because he's pushed through a bunch of left-supported agendas and policies like Bella and expropriation and NHI. And suddenly Ndlozi was saying, I was wrong, I was misled or misinformed about Ramaphosa. Actually, he's great. And a lot of people thought to themselves, I wonder if he is laying the ground for a return to the ANC. Ndlozi is. And one of the big leaders of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, said that if they were talking to Ndlozi, it wasn't a big deal and it wasn't a problem and it was appropriate. There were reports going around that Ndlozi had turned down the MK party's approach but was talking with people in the ANC. And so a lot of people are now wondering, isn't Ndlozi just going to have a cool-off period and wait for a little while before joining another political party, specifically the African National Congress, because he would be an enormous asset, an enormous win for the ANC in their attempt to turn around the kind of like momentum crisis that they're having and the narrative of their own impending doom that has just pervaded South African life. Another thing Ndlozi might try to do if he does get back into politics is start his own political party. Although I do wonder, it's interesting. I've been thinking a lot about Ndlozi in the context of what Mmusi Maimane did. Mmusi Maimane left the Democratic Alliance and clearly thought that he had way more supporters than he did. He clearly thought that he could carry a lot of his support base from the DA out of the DA. And I think it's fair to say that what South Africa has discovered is that Maimane didn't have a very big constituency of supporters himself. He was just the figurehead and the leader of the Democratic Democratic Alliance. Hence, Botha didn't do well at all actually in their first election, and the DA stayed pretty much around the same, even with such an inept leader as John Steenhuisen at the helm. But I think if Ndlozi did start a political party, he would do better. I think he would do a lot better, because I think that there is a very significant group of South Africans who ended up voting EFF or joining the EFF because of Ndlozi, not Shivambu or even not Julius Malema. I think that Ndlozi has impressed upon South Africa incredible intellectual weight, political prowess, and he's got a lot of supporters who are now very heartbroken EFF voters, wondering what they're going to do and how they feel about the fighters now. So if he were to start a new political party, I think he'd at least do better than the Risers and the Bosses did in the last election. And what does this now mean for the EFF? Based on what I've already described in this video, you won't be surprised to hear that I am absolutely sure that Malema had Ndlozi pushed out. As I've already said, many people think that it's because Malema got paranoid about his own power and threats to it and wanted to strip away as many rivals to him in the EFF as possible. But the fact of the matter is the EFF has now lost an extremely significant politician within their ranks who brought them a lot of support, publicity, profile, prestige, legitimacy. And now, if you look around the EFF, it's really just Malema. Everybody else are lower ranking or low impact or not well known, don't have a lot of face recognition in South Africa. Everybody else are just really like hangers on. And that might change over time, but right now, more than ever before, it is Malema's kingdom. But it seems like a weaker kingdom without Ndlozi and Shivambu. So what is the EFF going to do now? Where are they going to go from here? It's not exactly happy campers at MK right now, but we've covered that in another video on this channel. And they seem to be fighting for similar voters in the coming up local government elections. But now that Ndlozi is gone, Malema's going to have to really figure out how to rebuild the party and its popularity now that it is just in his image. And we're going to see how he does. Thanks for watching.